sleeping anymore. Okay, so today we're going to go over EBC A plus content. You should have week 11 class notes in front of you. And we're going to have to go replace this video because it was not what it should be. So we're going to get rid of this. Okay, so just a few updates. So in 2021, right, we were doing a lot more testing on A plus. A plus and EBC content are essentially the same things. It just depends on kind of when you're grandfathered in, right? So originally they kind of had it split up because A plus was for larger vendors and EBC enhanced brand content was for brands that had gained their brand approval through Amazon and who were brands that were registered within the correct country, right, as a brand that they owned. So EBC, just really quickly, stands for enhanced brand content. And the only difference between that and the original description is that this replaces the original description, right? And so keywords don't rank on Amazon keywords within A plus EBC content don't rank with Amazon. They do rank with other search engines, right? So like Google. And then the meta tags that go beneath each A plus EBC image or graphic also rank, right? And that has to do with people who are vision impaired, right? I'm not sure if I'm using the correct term. I apologize if I'm saying something that's offensive to somebody, but people like me who can't see without, glasses or worse, kind of thing. So that way, there's like a description that they can auditorily hear beneath each of those images, right? So when they scroll over the image, it reads them something. It would say like pink dog collar, right? Or, and you can use your long tail keywords in those meta tags, okay? So enhanced brand content does replace the original description. We'd gone through last week and talked about the original description. I'm going to move this up to the top. Let's see here. The original description was the description that you copy and paste into the back end of Seller Central when you're putting up your listing. Okay. So, and because it's replaced it, we now focus on, starting in 2021, we started focusing on the original description as more of like a massive keyword stuffing place. And I say don't keyword stuff, but this is what we call the descriptions replacing is what's called a non-customer facing description. So as you can see, I believe last week we got 40 keywords into one description, right? Which means that we have the opportunity to rank for 40 long tail keywords. Okay. And this is really ugly. This is not sales copy. This is literally keyword stuffing like people used to do in the 90s on Google, right? And same thing with Amazon at the beginning. People were like, I want 19 keywords in my bullet points. And I'm like, no, you don't. It won't convert. But this back end description is something that does not show up. Only the bots see it. After you've put up your A plus content or EBC enhanced brand content. And that's wonderful unless your A plus is not approved yet, in which case you don't want to put one of these up, right? So what we did last week was we went to Helium 10 and we had a list of keywords. And again, there's lots of great softwares out there. I started with Helium 10. I've stuck with Helium 10. And that's not just a keyword software, obviously, like is an Amazon software. And now they do Walmart and things like that as well. That's kind of where I started and where I stick with. And I really have a lot of belief in what they do. They have this really great, let's see here. They have this really amazing listing creator, basically, that helps you infuse the keywords in, see which keywords you've used, see which keywords you haven't. And so, we went through and we said, okay, after we've written the title, right? So the most important keyword space, and we'll go over this real quick because we did this before. So the most important keyword space is, hold on for a second here. Okay, that's not you guys, so it's okay. I don't know who it is. I'm just gonna, let's see here. Nope, that's a client. So sorry about that. I wanted to make sure that you guys could hear me and you didn't have questions. So where was I? No. This is not helpful when I jump around like this, is it? Let's see here. The class notes up. Nope. Lots of fun stuff going on though in here, as you can tell. Let me grab this too while I'm over here. Ooh, here we go. I made this so much cleaner for our class, like last week or earlier this week. Let's go to, should be right there. You guys just saw the notes up, right? Like I'm not losing my mind here. Okay, they're right there. Okay, so as I was saying in 20, sorry about jumping around like that. As I was saying in 2021, we started focusing on using that listing, right? That backend keyword description, or that backend description is more of a keyword rich thing because almost everybody is using A plus and EBC content at this point in time. And EBC content is kind of a double. That's like saying enhanced brand content. So EBC and A plus content, right? So you take all you do with any leftover keywords after you've infused your title, which is the most important bullet points, which are, second most important, right? In terms of ranking the first 1,000 characters of your bullet points, is you take every keyword that's left, every long tail keyword that's left, and you can go through, you can literally copy and paste this, you guys. So like you can go through and you can just start inserting keywords like this, right? So I created this template for you. This is literally a template. So like, let's say this is about something else besides this product. You can literally find a keyword that just says the ridiculously long tail keyword that, women and men love, right? A ridiculous long keyword people love, right? Women and men, this is an actual keyword. Elite Noble Shungite Necklace, women and men is an actual long tail keyword, which would be impossible to fit into a bullet point without sounding ridiculous, right? So, let's see here. So, if you go through here, maybe you've heard you need and then you just list out keywords that are, direct keywords that you didn't use in the title and bullet points, right? Or you simply want that gets you more compliments than like another keyword. You can take this, copy and paste it, and put like 40 different keywords in here, right? To rank your client or rank your product for like 40 different keywords. It allows you to squeeze in a lot more side keywords that are keywords that maybe you wouldn't want to pay for to advertise for. Like, if you don't want to pay for, best Christian gift for women, right? Every single time, and all the variations of that, that best Christian gift for women maybe has like 10,000 search terms, but then, there are like 40 other search terms that add up to 10,000 that other sellers aren't trying to rank for, or, your clients' competitors aren't trying to rank for. You can go back here and, plug this description into Seller Central with all of those alternative keywords in it and really quickly rank for a lot of keywords, right? Let's see here. So that's the A plus content. The EBC replaces that original description. Now it used to be customer facing, and because it's no longer customer facing, we can do things like this where it has enough of what's called natural language in it, that it doesn't look like it's just keyword stuff. So the bots still absorb all of it instead of ignoring it, but it allows us to rank for a lot of keywords, right? Let's see here. So, other changes in 2021, we went from using before and, like 2021 to 2022. Previously, even when I started this class, we were using the highest tested A plus content sequence. That's the way in which you place your frames for A plus content, right? That was 5 frames, and now they have more modules. We've been testing other modules, and now we're using 7. Right. So we've gone so it's a little bit more complex to set up now because one of the modules we're using is an interactive module, which is amazing. And I'll show you that I'll tell you more about that in a minute. We've also we used to use a lot more of the different modules, right? There were like 15 different modules you could choose from. It was really confusing for clients. It was really confusing for, Amazon sellers. And so we've figured out there's really only 4 that we need to use for it to look beautifully displayed and mobile optimized. Mobile optimization has become a huge thing over the last couple of years, right? And again, we already talked about, we don't use the customer facing descriptions anymore. A plus content should really be as much as possible about providing the sales copy support to the visual selling portion of your product, right? The sales copy, the words that support the visual that help sell your product, right? So it's not as much about the words, it's about using the words to support the visual. So when you have a lot of really long sales copy in a description, in the description, you can still have a front facing description if you want, right? But when you have a lot of really long sales copy in a front facing description, people don't necessarily go through and read it. People who love to read and want to feel really excited about a product will go through and read it, but you don't want to take up, 1, 2, 3, 4 frames in A plus content section with a ton of sales copy, you want to use, just like like we do on the images, you want to try to stick to power bullets, right? And you have a lot more room in your A plus content, but we still want to make it as tight, powerful, punchy as possible, right? Like we don't want to leave them, we don't want to make them read gobs and gobs and gobs of text. We want to get straight to the point and do it in a way that positions the product as superior. Superiority is what we're always going for, right? So without further ado, these are the modules, and this is our new module key for 2022, okay? And for this, you can just, like I've put the Amazon's name in there for you. I call them by my own. I'm like, this is what I call module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4. You'll see how I use them below. Each one of these, Amazon calls like my module 1, they call it a header image. You have the pixel sizes on there, right? And with a little bit of extra instruction, like we need to place the copy on top of the graphic. We're not placing the copy beneath the graphic, right? For module 1 and module 2, that kind of thing. So when you guys are going through and writing this, make sure you're paying attention to like which module we use for each of the sections, right? Give me a second here. I'm going to move this. Yeah, we'll go like this because I think here, before I had it down below, so this is easier to flow through and understand. So we'll just put it back down here. Wait a second here. Thank you for your patience. So let's see. Now I have it duplicated. Awesome. So before I go into the A plus content, are there any questions about why we do the description, the non-customer facing description in the back of Seller Central that way, how we do it, the best way to do it? Any questions about that? Awesome. Okay. Can you give me like I understand in the chat box if you understand what, like how to do it, how you would go about doing that?
Yeah, I got it done.
You got it? Okay. Awesome. So get to do the super fun thing. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. So we have the different modules. I've given them new names. I've written Amazon's name next to them, right? The 4 modules that we're really using right now are the header image, which is just a giant, it looks like a giant banner and you can put anything you want in it, right? So this is essentially like a 960 pixel by 600 pixel banner, right? And you can do anything you want with that image. And, it's going to be based on the product, obviously, but there aren't really any, you don't have to think really small when you're doing an image because it's a very large image. So the next module we're using, and again, this is not the sequence, this is each of the modules. We're using image and light text overlay, which is a 970 by 300 pixel banner. However, we're not putting, there's a box when you upload your graphic on the back end that says light text overlay, and people used to paste their sales copy in there. It looks awful on top of the images when you're using mobile. It doesn't mobile optimize. So you'll have this tiny little image with like this copy, all these words that are all over the place. And it doesn't look good. So we actually, when we're using image and light text overlay, we're only using it for the graphic size. We're not putting anything in the box that says light text overlay, right? I said, just trust me on this one because you can go and try it, but it's going to look horrific, right? Module number 3 we're using are 4 image highlights, okay? And that's where you have 4 images across, and this is explained further below, 4 images across that are 300 by 300 pixels. Across would be horizontal, so image A, B, C, and D, right? And then below image A, you'd have headline A, and then you'd have, the short description, like the power copy, right? And again, it's about superior positioning, always with that, knocking people off the fence. It's not just educating them, you're positioning against all your competitors, right? A lot of people are like, well, I have to educate them in this section. You are, but you have to educate them in a way that positions them, that positions your customer, positions your product, positions your client or positions your product as superior to your customers. It's almost like having a debate on stage, right? You're always positioning against something else, right? You're saying this is where this product can get you, but also it's better than this, 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 and this. Okay. So with the 4 image highlights, like I said, 4 images across, four like small headlines that align below each of those. And then 4 text. That's the only place you're going to paste text in, right? For the most part. In this whole thing except for your description section. Like everything else goes on top of an image or a banner, okay? And then the only other module we use besides sometimes the description, and I'll show you where we use the description below here, like the customer facing description, is really the interactive carousel, right? And this is a relatively new module on Amazon. It allows you to have 4 images, kind of like module 3 does, but they're interactive, which gains like micro buy-in is what it's called. People are taking micro actions, and because they've started taking action towards something, the more likely to purchase it. There's a whole psychology behind it, right? Like people break things into 50 steps, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I've already taken the first 10. Like I've already put effort into this, so now I want to keep putting effort into this because I don't want to give up the time and energy that I spent putting effort into this. This is now, I'd rather buy this than go redo that someplace else, right? So that's the fourth module we use. Okay, so the 7-section sequence. Here, I put this down here again. This is more of like a little chart that you can use, right? If you want to, it looks a lot cleaner than above, but you can use either one. So the first part of our stack, the first part of our sequence, we're going to use the module header main, okay? And that's Amazon's name for it. For me, I call it module 1. In my head, that's, what I would say. So we want to use a scroll stopping image, okay? When customers come and land on your listing, they look at the title, we've talked about, like they've seen the title, they quickly review it. The only thing that really matters for us is keyword ranking and to grab their attention, to have a hook. Like, okay, is this worth my time to even go look and review this product, right? The title has to speak to that, and your images and your power bullets in your auxiliary carousel have to speak to that, right? Once you've passed the test with your title and you've grabbed their attention up with that, and the power bullets and the imagery in your auxiliary carousel, people don't then usually go down and read the bullet points right away, right? Especially on mobile, what they'll do is they scroll clear down to the bottom of the page looking for the reviews, which Amazon's now calling something different. Let me get that right real quick, because I saw the other day, I'm like, okay, we're not calling it reviews anymore. We're calling it like, something else, right? So ratings, we're not calling it ratings instead of reviews on Amazon. Another change, okay? Hold on for just a second. Let me make sure that's not you guys. We should drag the Facebook thing over to the same thing so we're not jumping around here. Okay. It goes down. Ratings. Yep, Bilal, that's right. They are ratings, right? So like we have ratings. So it kind of cracks me up. Coming back over here. I just had this. Now you see all the fun stuff I work on all the time. Let's see here. Okay, so in our main stack, right, we know that people are going to scroll all the way down, look at the ratings. If the ratings, and that's assuming they have ratings, if they don't have at least 22 ratings, we have to do a lot more overcompensating when it comes to sales copy, right? And when it comes to the imagery, right? We have to try to sell that first person, second person, third person. And we do that all the time. We launch new products all the time with 0 ratings, and we help get those first 22 to, 2,000 sales when they're competing against people with 10, 20,000 sales and ratings, right? So we do that. So that's where the imagery and the copy is so important, okay? So you want to use a scroll stopping image. And there are a bunch of examples of scroll stopping images. Okay. Let's see here. So we were looking at, what were we looking at last week? We started with the product that, we're trying to focus on a problem. Sorry, that's about the headline. Sorry. So yes, the last week's video was epic, and I've got to try to do it all over. So with the scroll stopping image, right? So you can go back and review our training on conversion boosting images, anything that's, going to be bright, anything that's going to stop and grab their attention, anything that looks weird and makes someone say, what's that? Anything with like fire, dust, or smoke flaring up, right? Anything, we call that the epic look. Okay. Anything that triggers a fear response, like if you're using a dog training product, you can use a dog lurching, on a leash with their teeth kind of bared and gnarled, and like they're lunging after somebody. You can use a future pacing image, like a beautiful kitchen. Make sure it's bright. Make sure it's the kind of kitchen the person wants to have, and make sure it pertains to a kitchen product, okay, or a bathroom product, right? Anything, as we went over in our training for the conversion boosting images, with kids and babies smiling up close, those always sell really well. Women's and men's faces up close that are really interesting, like somebody with a lot of freckles, somebody who has kind of funny dimensions on their face. You don't want to use perfect faces, right? Unless you're trying to sell a beauty product that really works for, that like you're trying to take an almost perfect person and make them look like a perfect person, whatever someone's judgment of that is. I don't believe in perfect people, but you know what I'm saying. That's the only time you'd ever use that. Use eye directional images, the person looking at the product, right? So that's like someone's looking left and smiling, someone's looking like up and to the right, curious kind of thing, but the product is right there. As I said, what is that images? Like if you go and you look at, oh my gosh, we're working on really cool product right now, working on mushrooms, right? Like you would look at that image and say, what is that? Right? So that's a scroll stopping image. You want something that's going to stop people from scrolling as they're scrolling from the bottom up. Now, here's the thing. This is technically, since they're scrolling from the bottom up, our second scroll stopping image, right? So we have our first chance down at the bottom to grab their attention. Then people usually start scrolling up through A+. They don't read the content upside down in A+. They're looking to get to the top of the A+ content. And so we need the second scroll stopping image at the top, so that they stop and they're like, oh, okay, great. So this is the end of the images. It's grabbed my attention. Above that is a bunch of text. I don't want to bother with text. I'm going to go back down to the picture. So that kind of cues the human brain. It signals the human brain to say, stop, go back down. This is where what you want to know begins, right? So go back up to what up here. Let's see here. So every single one of these, usually you want to have a headline. Okay, and the headline for the scroll stopping image will go on it, right? This is going to focus on your hypnotic anchor, what's superior about the product, or, like an outcome, like a customer driven, a realization that's a customer driven outcome, right? So one of the better examples, let's see here. What did we do yesterday? Trying to think of, we've been working on mushroom listings. We've been working on so many things right now. So, if you said something like, don't defend, defy or something like that, you want something that opens a nested loop there, right? But is also using that language, those hot button points, right? And I went through and wrote a bunch of this down. So we go see which product we were looking at last week, and then I will go, let's see here, because we actually started like knocking out. Okay. So let's see here. That's for the alternate. So someone give me a product, like any kind of product. Doesn't matter what it is. Bilal, you always seem to have a bunch of products floating around.
Why not do the beekeeping hat?
Beekeeping hat, awesome. Right? So for beekeeping hat, here, if we're putting a headline in, right? So we would, like, when we're starting to generate these, like, we would ask ourselves, what outcome does the product provide? Like, we know it provides protection. What is superior about the product, right? What's the hypnotic anchor for that beekeeping product, beekeeping hat?
Let me give you. I have them in the points. Give me a moment. I don't remember them by memory.
Okay. Outcome. Let's see here.
The first one is Venta mesh fiber.
What's the first one? I'm so sorry. You want to type it in the chat? Venta mesh fiber. You could say something, you're trying to think of something epic here to kind of make them stop and think, right? So you can say, so if you've got, you can say, none of the sting, none of the heat with revolutionary Venta mesh fiber, right? And that would be a good headline to go someplace like this. It's going to be a big headline. It's going to be a bold headline, and it's going to take up a significant portion of your graphic. Okay. So you can use that. So we know that, like, and you want to keep working at like, how do I power this up, right? You're thinking, how do I make this sound like something on TV that someone's going to like stop in the middle of what they're doing and listen to a commercial? That's what an epic headline is. If it was spoken on TV, people would stop and what they're doing and listen, right? Just like the image is going to make people stop what they're doing and look at what the words say on the image, okay, on the graphic. Let's see here. Back over here. Then ripple light mesh, okay? So you can, same thing. So you can say, all the experience, and this is lame. I'm not saying yours is lame. None of the sting, something like that. And again, that's like, you can also reverse this if you want, right? So if your benefit is not really that much stronger than anybody else's, you can start it with the hypnotic anchor as the benefit. So you can say something like ripple light mesh all, or like the full happy beekeeper experience, none of the sting, something like that, right? I mean, you can, Diane can't type today. You could do something like that. There's also, let me go show you guys some examples of ones I've worked on recently. Okay, because there's a lot. I mean, we do a ton of these. If I go to recent, I can be like bing, 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 right? So when we're looking at like, here is, and I don't want to show another students. Okay, so let's see here. If we go here to like, I just did a Bible tab, so where did it go? I guess this is all the stuff I've reopened today. Let's see here. So, those are all keywords. Why are only keywords showing up here? Because I've been doing a lot of keywords this week. Okay, right here. Okay, so if we go down and we look at, this is something I just finished yesterday. Okay, if we look at what we're talking about in terms of like a scroll stopping image, right? With this particular section, we are trying to, and this is a different way you can do this. Okay, this is a different like idea on what you could use for a headline, right? This is like an outcome, right? So these are for Bible tabs, and they're very beautiful Bible tabs, by the way. But like we wanted to anchor in like the outcome that they want, right? They want a stronger connection, through their daily devotional, right? And this right here, like it doesn't tell you what the product is, okay? That headline that goes on top of your scroll stopping image doesn't have to tell you what the product is. It should tell you what the outcome is that they want to see. We gotta get rid of that. Let's see here. Let's see. Let me go to another one. There's some stories. There's some. Okay, so cordyceps. Okay, this is another one. Same day, right? Knock this out same day. So looking at if we go down to the section, right? So this is an idea of a scroll stopping image. You would stop and say, what is that? Right? And this is the outcome they want. They want to be motivated, driven, focused, and energized, and this is also a supplement that happens to specifically help, like with a lot of performance things, right? So again, the headline, the outcome that they want, right? Same thing. Let's see. Let's go down here. Oh my gosh, did so much stuff this week. Let's see here. Those are all non-A+ EBC because we already did that. Here's another one. Okay, so if we look down here, we're specifically focusing on, right, either the outcome they want or what positions the product as superior, okay? With this particular product, right, we're looking at a different customer awareness level and a different education level with this particular product. So as opposed to using, like what the outcome is, we focused on why this product is superior because these people all already know the outcome. It's a different customer awareness level. These guys are, for this product, we were targeting customer awareness level 2, right? So why, we already know we want a reishi mushroom supplement. We want it to be organic. It has all these things. Why is this reishi mushroom supplement superior, right? Okay, give me a second here. I'm going to go pop in, make sure I'm not missing anything, right? Yeah, no, that's great. If there's nothing to unique about your product, Bilal, like the one that you're working on, you can use that hypnotic anchor. That's what the By Mind system is, right? Where we're doing the, like we're doing the belief craft within the buy mind system that's changing from state A to state B, right? It's creating the superiority. People say, well, you can't create a market without a ton of money. You can't, but you can take a market that currently exists and position your product as superior using that buy mind system with those different belief craft steps, right? Like you have the hypnotic anchor in there for that system. You have the, and again, buy mind is a system I've been kind of putting together for the past 12 years. Okay. So like you have that, like what goes where. Okay. You have the superior positioning. You have those hypnotic anchors. You have several things in there that you can say, well, this is what makes the product superior. Someone else will be like, like, oh, it has breathable mesh. Awesome. Great. You have breathable mesh. That's really cute. But we have Ventamesh fibers, right? That like, and Ripple light mesh, right? Or we have like Ventamesh anti-penetration fibers. So like these bee stingers can't get through. And yes, you have cool mesh over there. That's really cool. It's breathable and it blocks things. And that's awesome. But yours has this and mine is this, right? It's about what it is and how the person identifies with that I am of the product, right? So you're doing a great job creating these. Sorry, try not to have the hiccups as like I'm talking. So I'm so excited. I'm talking so fast. You guys know I get like this. Okay, so that's just, that's just section 1. And we could have, if this was a customer awareness level, 3 and there wasn't high competition, we could do the same thing we did with the other one where it was like, high performance, all day energy, restful sleep, feel like you're young again. And obviously feel like you're young again. We have to like be really careful saying things like that because that's a claim, right? But we could have done something like this and moved like this up here, right? And for these guys, anytime you have, when I'm talking about like you need a description or don't need this front facing description, anytime you have a product that requires explaining, you want to have that front facing description as well, right? And it won't replace that back end description. You'll still get all that keyword juice, right? But you want to have this front end description because, and especially when it's like, well, we have to work really hard on positioning this. We have to explain the science behind why this works, right? The other thing we could have done to grab attention is after you write your description, you can go through and say, like you can put like like I didn't even realize how much I needed the support. This is like opening a nested loop, right? We talked about that, like a soap opera sequence, right? Anything to grab their attention. So you could put this up on your section 1 banner, that main header image. That's your scroll stopping image at the top of A+. You can also do like use analogies. And we've talked about this, like consuming only beta glucans concentrate is like having the wings but no plane. It's like having the wheels but no engine, right? Because this company does an amazing job with their products. They use the entire mushroom. Most people are just using extracts of beta glucans, which is not necessarily like the best thing for you. Okay, just making sure. Let's see here. I'm trying to put everything down except for our class so I can see what you guys are doing. Give me a second here. Yes, nested loops. Actually, we're going to go over in just a minute. Like how to write a whole nested loop description. I've already got it in your class, your week 11 class notes. So give me a second here. I'll go back there. Great question, Bilal. Let's see here. Going back here. Nope. Be really nice if I could just keep track of where we are here. Dun, 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 dun. I know it's here. I know it is. You guys literally just saw week 11 class notes, right? Like they were just there. Oh. Give me a second. Maybe I canceled them down? These part of the videos really drive me crazy. Where I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, now I can't find what I was doing. There you go. We're right there. Wish there was some way I could like make this the only thing I see, but I'm kind of glad that I can see everything else. So, okay, so that's just barely section 1, right? A+ has a lot to it. Okay, so the other thing you can do is like, you always want to look at the questions they're asking themselves, right? So how do I get my memory back is a good one to talk about. How do I get like, what are they asking themselves? Okay, what's the outcome they want? And that'll tell you what outcome they want, right? Like I decided to call my system the buy mind system because that's what everybody's asking is when I have competition across the internet and competition is everywhere and everybody's essentially selling the same thing, how do I get customers to buy mine? And that's how I came up with the buy mine system, right? Which is where I've like tucked in everything that, a lot of what I've taught you guys, which is like the belief craft, the changing state A to state B that we went over. I think it was like the second week, that we were the first or second week we were together. The hypnotic anchors, that's part of a by mind system. That's superior positioning, right? That's all part of that. The future pacing is part of it. Creating that this is like this in that future pacing, and what happens if I don't buy this product. That's part of the by mind system. These are all things that you're learning within this training, but it's not like before. I wasn't answering the question I was answering the question of how do I get higher conversions on my Amazon listing, not just like how do I get customers to buy mine, right? And so it's like we started looking at the question differently, and say, okay, well, how they can buy from 8,000 people who are ranked for this keyword, who are indexed for this keyword, and like, how do I get them to buy mine, right? And so it's how it became the buy mine system, right? There's also like, how do I get my memory back, right? And so that's the question they're asking. So your headline could simply be, get your memory back, which is again a claim. You have to be careful with that, without the XYZ of, bad thing, bad thing, a bad thing, or, bad thing they don't want. Bad thing they don't want. Bad thing they don't want. So you have so many options here, right? But your whole idea is to grab attention and provide them with the outcome for the most part. If you stick with just grabbing their attention with the image and the sales copy on that image, on that first graphic, and providing them with the outcome and using the hypnotic anchor, that opens that nested loop that says, okay, an open nested loop is like, okay, I need to fill in this gap in the brain. Now I have to hunt down what that is. It's like, it's sparking curiosity that's insatiable, right? It's like being a kid. They have a million questions. Anybody who has kids or who's worked with kids knows that kids have a million questions, right? So that's, our brains still have that within them as adults. So we're opening up a loop, and we call it a nested loop because we're creating a loop within a loop within a loop, right? Other people will open one loop and close it. So they'll do that thing where it's like, okay, well, I'm opening up this loop for the hypnotic anchor, and here's the name of the hypnotic anchor, right? So you've got the bees one, right? Okay, I'm going to go back up to it. So you've got Ventamesh fiber, okay? So people say, okay, great. So when you're opening a nested loop, what their human brain is saying is, what is Ventamesh fiber, right? So they've seen, look, this is the benefit I want, and it's a moving away from benefit. None of the sting, that's pain, moving away from. None of the heat, that's pain, moving away from, right? And you can then put in like a pleasure one, all the beekeeping enjoyment, right? And then you do something, then you say, so like moving away, because they're moving away from pain. Pain's a very serious thing. They're moving towards their joy, okay, for beekeeping, right? And if you're selling this to beekeepers who are doing it for enjoyment, then you'd use that. If you're selling this, you know what their hot buttons are. If you're selling this to a beekeeper who's like trying to get through 1,000 different, uh, hives a day or whatever, like you would make this about that, like all the whatever, like whatever it is that they're gonna, whatever the outcome is that they want, right? So moving them away from pain because stings and heat, no thank you. Moving them towards whatever the outcome is that they want, okay? And then with revolutionary Ventamesh fiber, their brain says, their brain opens a nested loop here, opens a nested loop, right? And it's not just an SOS pattern. Okay, it's a nested loop. So an SOS pattern is called a soap opera sequence. So you know that at the end of every soap opera that you've ever seen on TV, and like I don't know if you guys have ever watched soap operas. I don't like them personally. I don't like TV personally, but that's just me. But like at the end of a soap opera, they would always leave you hanging. This is like a cliffhanger, right? They'd give you a cliffhanger, okay, which is like to be continued. Like you want to know who's marrying who, or who died, or what happened, right? Like what happened. And so your brain can't stop thinking about that until the next episode comes on. And this worked really beautifully before we could like binge watch things, right? So now you can binge watch a whole season, but you're still like, oh, I have to use the restroom and I have to go get some popcorn. I don't want to miss this. So like you're like racing to get back to the TV, right? That's a soap opera sequence or cliffhanger. They're opening one, they're closing one. They're opening another one. Oh, that's not helpful. Did not want to do that. Hold on for just a second. They're opening another one, another open nested loop, right? Another single open loop, right? It's not a nested loop at that point. And then they're closing it. Okay. So when we're writing sales copy, you'll notice a lot of the times we're doing that in these smaller sections, right? We're using like rapid, like rapid close nested loops, right? Like down here. Let me see. I'll go down where we have the alternative. No more frizz and tangles, no more loss of beauty sleep, right? So you could use like a hypnotic anchor in here instead, right? And people be like, oh, okay. So you'd put like the away from benefit, right? Like you're going away from pain. Great. No more loss of beauty sleep. I really want to sleep, and have a hypnotic anchor here. And so that would be like, well, what is that? Right. And then you close it immediately right below. Okay. When we're doing open nested loops, it's a little bit different. So when we're doing open nested loops, we're not just going to open the loop and then close it at the next episode. We're going to open the loop, right? So first we're going to use a pattern interrupt that stops and grabs their attention. Okay. So a pattern interrupt would be like, something could be something really funny and simple, like not your mama's Bible tabs, which we did not use in that other product because that's not who we're targeting. But you can do something that makes them laugh, right? You can do something that's kind of shocking, like, did you know how many people died in car accidents last year? Right? Or you can even say something that's really vague, like, this is only the one if, right? And they're like, what? This is the what? Okay, now I've got to stop. It's a pattern interrupt that stops them from scrolling. It's like a scroll stopper, but with words instead of images, right? So you're going to tell a story, okay? So in telling that story, you're not just going to close the nested loop. You're not just going to say, this is the name of the hypnotic anchor. This is what it does, which is what a lot of people do. You're going to pull them in deeper and deeper and deeper with the story. You're getting those micro commitments, right? It's just same with the interactive carousel, right? You're going for those micro commitments. The more they read, the more they're sucked into the story, the more nested loops we open with questions, the more nested loops that we open, from beginning to end before we close it, the deeper and deeper and deeper they are anchoring this product as the one. Okay. The deeper and deeper and deeper, they're actually going to be saying, okay, I've invested 10 minutes in reading this now. I really want to keep going because I don't want to go and see if something else is different. This sounds pretty great. Humans don't just have a thing with superiority where we're like, okay, I want to buy the most superior thing. So I'm going to go. Otherwise, you'd look at 1,000 different things and be making cost benefit analysis lists all over the place before you decided to buy the right toaster. Right. So we also have a time investment thing. We think, okay, we've invested time. We looked at one, we looked at two, we looked at three. Oh, this third one looks really cool. Okay, it's superior. Okay, well, I already feel they have a superiority threshold where they say, I feel like the superiority is good enough to, like, has enough value. The superiority holds enough value to tip the scales in the favor of saying that price that I'm about to pay, that money I'm about to part with, that card I'm about to charge up is worth it, right? It's a threshold. So the longer we can pull them in and the deeper we can pull them in, the faster we'll start reaching that threshold of this is totally worth it, right? You have people who say, oh, they didn't even read all my, like, they didn't even read all the A+ content. And so they didn't see this one thing they needed to know before buying the product. And it's like, well, we better move that up. And you're like, well, this has happened like 10 times now. Like, they're not reading the whole thing. Like, that means they're not reading. I'm like, no, what that means, it's not that they're not reading it. It means that they're so convinced before they get to that information, they buy the product before they even see that information, right? That's good copy right there. When you're like, I have people who will go to the website and they will order a package and then they'll come back, and this happens all the time, saying, I don't even know what I just ordered. I just really needed to buy something from that website. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really funny the way that works because people have this value, the superiority threshold is the time, like, I've already invested time in this. I don't want to go keep looking. Is this superior enough that I can quit looking and solve my problem with this product? Right? So that open nested loop, their nested loop story really, really helps with that. So start with a pattern interrupt. And there's a whole list of pattern interrupts I can provide you with, right? To kind of give you inspiration. Again, use these things as inspiration, more like a swipe file, like a copywriter's or graphic designer's swipe file. You can directly copy them, but you want to be thinking about how it pertains to your customers' hot buttons or your clients' products, customers' hot buttons, right? So when you tell that story, that nested loop that must be filled, you're going to think of a hook as well, right? So that pattern interrupt and then using the hook, like, is this really the one? People, anytime you use the word this, like, you can be vague, right? So one of the things, actually, I can share this with you right now. Let me go see if I can open this. There's some really great examples I can just share with you right now from a book I read. It was called Email Open Autopilot, or not a book I read, a book I wrote. Email Open Autopilot. Okay, I will anchor this for you guys. This was like people pay $47 for this still, which is amazing. I love that they pay $47, but I think you guys would really just like to have this, right? For examples. So let's see here. Copy link, done. Post this over here. So for your hooks, you can, here's an example from Email Open Autopilot, right? And these are subject lines that have generated insane results. And they're subject lines I tested out, and I keep using the same subject lines to make sales. I've been doing it now for a decade. Same subject lines, right? And they still work. People still open them, right? Oh, you guys just, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? I should probably have closed all this out before. I need to figure out how to drag you guys. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this right now so we're not going back and forth constantly. I will figure this out. I think. Okay, where'd we go? Are we right there? Okay. Okay, so we're going to do this and drag this over like this, right? And let me see if I can then drag it to the, how do I drag it to the other tab? Maybe we'll just go half and half, eh? Let's do this. Okay, so now I think I can do it. Can I do it? You guys get to watch me be a technology, like a ridiculous technology person. What can we do today? It's gonna mess up my video. Okay, come on. Can you do it? Okay, well, at least now the message room is separate. Okay, so if we look at Email Open Autopilot, right? Let's go. I'm just gonna put it down like this. If we look at Email Open Autopilot, and we scroll through here, what I'm talking about in terms of hooks are like things that get people to stop and want to, like stop and want to like keep reading because they have to, right? So the way that I taught it at that point in time was like, you want to use natural questions that you would see from a friend or a family member, right? So I went through my email box one day and I was like, okay, what are my friends and family members sending to me? Not cat videos, not, and again, this was back in like 2011 is when I first wrote it. Then I updated it and added more in 2014. And then it's been selling since then. Like I haven't had to do anything with it because the email subject lines that make people open in terms of psychology are still the ones that I was going to do it, right? So you can use vague words, right? So like, I need you to take a look at this. Are you going with me to this? Where are we meeting for this? Did I ask you this already? Right? And so like for something like that, you can say, did we forget to tell you this? Right? It has to be something that logically fits into where what kind of question you'd actually ask them before filling that loop. But there's like a ton of examples in here, right? And this is the most important part of the nested loop is opening the nested loop. Okay. Let's see here. So these are NLP like buddy subheadlines, right? These are ones that sold really, really well. Remember when you first got, you can like insert like the challenge that they're facing the first time that they experience something, right? Tons of stuff in here. I don't even want to go through this whole entire thing. But what I do want to show you is, right, so these are the 5 plug and play emails that got really huge results. Okay, look at this. 106%. And I wasn't even testing an email inside of it. I just wanted to test the headline. So like there's no click-through rate on this because I didn't put anything in the email. I just wanted to see how many people I could get to click the subject line on the email, right? Which is ridiculous to do that. And always people wrote me back and like, what did you need to tell me? I need like, oh, are you having a sale? Can I buy this? Oh, I wanted to get this email package. I totally forgot. Thank you for sending me this, but there's nothing in the email. And I got back tons and tons and tons and tons of responses from people wanting things. It was a really great way to it was a really great social experiment. I love social experiments. But as you can see on here, there were 106% open rate and there's no click-through rate because there was no link to click, right? So I was just testing this. So you can easily, to open any nested loop for any listing you ever write, you can say, I need to ask you this, right? And you can then go into like, when was the last time, or like, I forgot to ask you this. I forgot to tell you this, right? You would say tell on a listing, not ask. You can, what services do you offer? That one was a little bit different. I wouldn't use that in your listing. Has anyone asked you lately, right? And you can put the outcome they want. Has anyone asked you lately how you're losing weight so quickly? Has anyone asked you lately why your memory seems sharper than ever? Funny, like other people, like that's why people, take XYZ product or whatever, right? Or do you still have that intense fear of, like, you can see any email open rate subject line is going to be amazing for using to as the hook for your open nested loop, right? And go through, like, if you have an email list today and you want to sell something, like, go through and start, like, just use, I need to ask you this dot dot dot, and don't do anything else. Make sure you use the ellipse, the dot dot dot. Don't use the, the quotation marks, but just say, I need to ask you this dot dot dot, and see how many people, like, open the email because they think it's like when somebody needs to ask you something, it's like, oh, someone wanted to ask me something. Shoot, I have to stop. It's like when you're a parent and you go and your kid is like, Mom, I need to ask you something. And you're like, just a minute, just a minute. And then all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock at night and you're like, shoot, I forgot to ask them what they wanted to ask me. And then of course you go back to that child and they're like, I don't remember, or like, I already took care of it. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, this is a great book to have for emails. If you like, I was going to give this to you guys down the road so you can launch, once you have an email list, like, here are ways to launch to it, right? This is part of that. So it's just, I guess it's just an early thing that popped up as like, here's what we can do for hooks, right? Okay, this is so much easier now. I can find you guys. Okay, let's see here. Yes, they are. Those, yeah, the subject lines, headlines are really, really amazing. Thank you. I know. I remember when I first wrote that book sold like crazy, and I've never put it up on Amazon, Kindle, or anything. I just have like a random website, and I don't promote traffic to it. People just find it, and I still get a couple sales a month from it. I'm not promoting it, but that's on my list of to-dos, is to go pull all of my books out and all of my content out and be like, hey, I'm going to put this up on Amazon Kindle, or I'm going to, pay somebody to do it. Because they're just sitting there. I'm not doing anything with them. So what you want to do after you hook is you want to close and reopen the loop. Okay. So again, when you're telling the story, it's either I was once where you were, right? So I once struggled with severe back pain, right? It's almost like giving the reason why you created this product, right? Or you can use like Sally, right? If it's not you, you can use a fictitious customer. You can use a real customer's name, right? So Sally once struggled, and again, this should be the reason why you started this product, right? And this could be like, like totally made up. Okay. Totally made up. Does not have to be real. So Sally once struggled with debilitating back pain. Right. And you can even like to continually open, like you can even ask a question here, just like we talked about at the beginning of the bullet point. So, and you can say, and you never want to like make a claim. So you can say like sharp stabbing pain, like foggy memory. This is great for a product like these mushrooms that solve more than I can't legally say solve more than one problem, but you guys know what I mean, right? So sharp stabbing, back pain, foggy memory, like problem, and just go through your hot button words and see what they're talking about as the problem, and use that right here, right? Because you've just said email open autopilot, like, I need to ask you this, right? So that's like, this is like a lead, and okay, I need to ask you this. Sharp stabbing back pain, foggy memory, problem, right? So like get them into you're poking, you're agitating their problem, right? So some people will say like you need to agitate the problem and provide the solution, right? This is just the agitation of the problem part. Okay. And this is the easiest way to do it. Like XYZ name, you can use any names, right? Like if you can use your own name, that's the best. If you can use a close family member or best friend's name and say, my best friend, da da da, my sister, da da da, my mom, my dad, my grandpa, da da da, that's just as good as using your own name, right? And then it also anchors that like nostalgia to people. Like, I remember when my grandma was going through pain, et cetera, et cetera. It also anchors in like that feeling of like, oh, this person really cares about somebody else. So they went and did this because they care about somebody else. That must mean they care about me. Or like, it also anchors in that, like, I like people like me. So it's like, I like my grandma. I would go to the ends of the earth for my grandma. Like, I like people like me. This is a good person. I should keep, figuring out, I should stick with them for a little while. See if they proof out. And if I can get that superiority balance where like I filled up my superiority bucket with, like this is the superiority is greater than the money that they're asking me to give them. Right. So same thing, right? Solve so many things there. And then you talk about the story, like, I struggled here, the things, I experienced. And these are like share daily life things, life struggles, like literally, like, I felt frustrated. I felt so, and remember, you want to use language like they use. So I'm using language like I would want to see. I felt so, because I'm like a hyperactive 40-year-old, like mastermind person. So, it's like I felt so frustrated by, and what I mean by that is I feel really intense emotions, but I also, came from like the when we said like so, like, things like that. So I felt so frustrated by I felt so frustrated every time I couldn't get off the couch to play with my puppy or kids or, whatever. Every time dishes just sat in the sink overnight. Every time, and you want to make it even more intense, every time I had to, um, you know, every time I felt like I was I was breaking my wrist to scrub the stuck on grime off of dishes because I couldn't stand up, because I couldn't, stand and do it, because my pain prevented me from standing and completing, standing up and doing it the night before. Right? This is where you want to make this like a nightmare. Okay. This is when we're talking about like, this is forward pacing if they don't buy the product. Okay. So they may not have the same life struggles, right? Like they may like, oh, I can still climb the stairs, but geez, it hurts my back, goes to bed. You want to make it the worst thing possible, right? Like I felt so frustrated. I couldn't get off the couch to play with my kids. Like my kid fell. I didn't realize my back pain was that horrific until my kid fell off the monkey bars and I couldn't carry them to the car to take them to the emergency room, right? I ended up in the emergency room with my kid, right? Something like that. Okay. Let's see here. And then you want to say, I've tried so many things, you know, probably just like you, I tried everything I could get my hands on. Or you can say a good one for this is if you have a product that targets affordability, everything I could afford. Okay. And then list out things like, and say like, item I tried, like item name, didn't work and caused these problems. Okay. And then item name didn't work, like cause these problems, right? And you want to try to go for at least 3 and the 3 main ones. And if you want to know which 3 problems which 3 items you go for, go back and look at your customer awareness level 3, okay, and your listener customer awareness level 3, where it's like, what else what other type, of product or service would they consider to solve the problem? And that'll give you a list right there, and then if you have like 9 of them, you can be like, you might say something like, Reishi, I don't know, no, nothing wrong with Reishi supplements, but Reishi supplements, oh, what is it, like CoQ10, and what is another one for back pain? Turmeric didn't, and I'm not saying these don't work because these are amazing, um you know only left me feeling, only left me with an achy gut, right? And so you're stacking 3 within 3 now. Instead of just saying, a resheet, I tried supplements, you're going deep. Like instead of saying I tried supplements, I tried a back roller, and I tried this back stretcher thing for my lower back pain, you're now like grouping in 3s within those 3. So you're saying, here are the supplements I tried. Reishi, CoQ10, and turmeric only left me with an achy gut, right? Or gut upset, or, only left me racing for the bathroom. Depends on how racy you want to be. Racing for the bathroom, right? So this is stacking 3 by 3. Okay. You'd say, back foam rollers, back stretchers, and respacers. Uh, uh, let's see here. Brings me to the point where I couldn't sit down. And of course, there's, pricey massage therapists, chiropractors, and what else do they say? Like acupuncturists. And again, I'm just pulling this off the top of my head. Acupuncturist. I simply couldn't afford the time away from work, or the investment to go to, have them fix the problem. And again, you're going to go back and power this up and tighten it up over and over again every week, right? Something like that, right? And so, like, I almost gave up, it was XYZ dates, or like, I remember the day I wanted to throw in the towel, right? Um, that kind of thing. Let's see here. But I knew there had to be an answer solution. But I knew, and I use always like all caps or bold new, but I knew there must be a solution to XYZ problem because I'd seen so many people with debilitating back pain, or because because my mom, because my dad, because someone I trust, right? And just put in the name. And I can't even I get so excited typing. We're done at the bottom of the page because someone I trust, you know, uh, used to be in a wheelchair, and again, we don't use to be. That's a zombie verb, but escaped their uh, pathway to wheelchair restriction with XYZ, right? But there was no affordable, so I began to research. What I discovered was, right? So you can talk about like I discovered, that either like, and this is where your superior positioning comes back in and what people like their hot buttons. So if you're selling a supplement, it'd be like, okay, so other products, other supplements had most supplements had gut most, let's see here, most, and this is like outcome they want, right? So like pain relief supplements had gut disruptors that, not only sent me racing for the bathroom, but inevitably caused even more, lumbar tissue damage by, upsetting the balance of my gut. Okay, something like that. Okay, and so then you want to list out all the problems, right? And you want to focus on, that's where you focus on quality. Okay, you focus on affordability, right? And you focus on this, other products only worsen the problem. Okay, you can say like, the reason I created this is because I wanted to bring something that was affordable. And I saw that, because of marketing, people were being gouged and they knew they could get, 500% markup. And so that's why they're charging $100 for this. But I was able to work a deal with manufacturers who really care about you, who don't have all this crud in it. And so then, now I'm able to get it. Like, this is why the supplement, why I can deliver you twice as much at twice the potency and 10 times the power, for half the price of what they're doing, right? Because I worked hard and I found the right manufacturer and I found the right lab and I found the right producer. And like, you can do it with supplements, you can do it with any product, right? So you want to hit those three things there. The quality, like I noticed here's what was wrong with the quality. Here's how we fixed it, you know, and here we go. This actually goes underneath that same thing. Here's what we can do. Here's the quality problems. Here are the affordability problems. And these other products contain these other things or have these other things only worsen the problem, right? And then you go into, so I put together a world of experts and created my own, and brand name, product name was born, right? And that's a nested loop. So you've opened the loop and like, you're kind of opening it deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, right? And then instead of like having them have to refill the hole themselves and like dig themselves out of the hole, you're basically providing an elevator to the top in that last part. You're solving all of their questions, all their answers, all their curiosities in that last section. But you've opened and dug that loop so deeply that by the time they get through this, if you've done it right, they're like, this is where we run into problems. This is why I put feature bullet points here. And I'm going to explain this in a minute. This is where we run into problems where like they get so excited about this, they don't even realize what they're buying, which sounds ridiculous, but we've all been there. So they don't stop and think, okay, 80% of the population doesn't. They don't stop and think, okay, well, does this have all the features that I want, right? That's why we learn to place these feature bullet points right here. Okay. So this is like, okay, great. And you want to list out more than 3, 4, 5, 10. Sometimes we have like 17, which sounds ridiculous, but we do. And that way, if they see something, that they don't, it's like, oh, it's not universally compatible with my, carnivore diet, right? This is, like it only has 2 grams of sugar. Shoot, I don't eat any sugar. So it's not compatible, right? And then it bounces people away from buying the product who are otherwise going to return it and ask for a refund, right? So this is literally like your refund buffer, okay? So this is your, like the open nested loop is your auto seller. It's kind of your auto seller. Auto seller, like if you had an auto seller bot, okay? But then the feature bullets are your refund buffer, okay? You can also do something here like if it's really serious, like we're working, someone in this class is doing an amazing job working on a product where like if someone purchases this thing for their car and they try to install it, it's not gonna, be compatible. So like in the feature bullets, you could do like compatible with and then list out what it's compatible with, what type of cell phones, if it's a cell phone thing, what type of, you know, what type of like computers, what type of cars, what type of car mirrors in this particular case. I'm sure by now he knows what I'm talking about him and he's going to go through this and be like, oh, hey, she said I did an amazing job. He's doing great, right? So you always want to close that. You want to use the open nested loop as like an auto seller bot. And then you want to make sure that you have all the like very basic feature bullets below that, right? So is it made of, like it could be 100% cotton. And I'm not saying that a supplement would be 100% cotton. I wouldn't recommend that. You know what I mean? And people are like, oh, okay, great, 100% cotton. I can do 100% cotton. But what if this says something like, they're all sold on this, they really, really want it. What if this says 90% polyester and then 10%, something, something blend, whatever it is. These hiccups, I get so excited. Hiccups don't want to stop. They may be like, oh, that blend, I'm allergic to that. Oh, I really want this product, but now I know that I'm just going to have to return it. So like you need to make sure you have a refund buffer. Okay. And that is one of our best refund buffers. Okay. We don't just want to get buy in and sell the product to anybody because we can sell any product to anybody. We really can. But we want to make sure our job is to make sure we're dropping that subconscious mind barrier to the point where they really want to buy our product while educating them well enough to say, this is for you and it's safe for you and it's good for you and this is what you really need. Not like get a return rate of 22% because we're not telling people, we're not putting that buffer up to like say, okay, slow down, Slick. Like I know you want that 17th ice cream cone, but it's going to make you sick, right? So like we need to make sure we're really honest in the feature bullet section as that refund buffer. Okay. Are there any questions about that? If you use a description, a front facing description, I'm going to look at the chat. Put a yes if you have a question and feel free to ask away. If you don't, okay. No questions from Pepper. I'm going to stop and take a sip of my coffee while you guys answer. I'm like, she doesn't need more coffee. You know what it is? I think Mark put cinnamon in my coffee this morning and my brain is going like 400 miles an hour. Thank you. I'm definitely enjoying my coffee. He makes amazing coffee. I don't even make coffee anymore. He makes all the coffee. Like world's best husband ever. Okay, so you can definitely post in the group later. That is the easiest format. There are other formats of open nested loop stories. There are a lot of them you can study online if you study neurolinguistic programming. That one is the most effective written in words, right? There are other open nested loops that you can learn, open nested loop patterns, right? That you can learn, and they're much more effective with like getting your child to change behavior, or they're more effective, and that'll work to get a child to change behavior, obviously, if you pattern it right. There are some that are more effective in face-to-face sales. So this is the one I would use. I would stick to, though. You don't need to learn the rest of them unless you're just undyingly, like unquenchably curious, like I am, and wanted to go get like certified in it. And I did. I got master trainer certified because I was just like, I had to know all of it. I didn't want to miss a thing, right? So we've gone through stack part 1, stack part 2, right? Stack part 2 is optional, that, which is section part 2. I started calling them stacks because people were like, well, how do these go together? I'm like, they stack like a building, right? It's like a really tall building. That's where your A plus should look like, not like a wonky forest with images all over left and right and everywhere popping up. Like that won't look good on mobile. Okay. So the third part down here, okay, is, like you're going to use the same module, which is header main. That's the same one as you used for your first stack section. Okay. And then you're going to do a brand story. Okay. So you want to make it the most heartstring pulling, resonating, connecting, rapport building brand story. Okay. And I listed here, like, what to do without a brand or mission story, like key features, benefits, hypnotic anchors, like what you can put in here if you don't have a brand story. But really, you should have a brand story. Nobody should be running around out there without a brand story. So what makes an amazing brand story, right? It can be about a charity. Okay. It can be about your mission. It can be about like you against the man, which is a big thing in the US. If you don't live in the US, I don't know if you know what that means. But, let me give you a great example. I can pull, and it's never, ever, ever about we create awesome products that are the highest quality. No, you want to pull in this person's heartstrings. Like if you don't have them in darn near tears or smiling and feeling warm and fuzzy by the time they're done reading your brand story, you have not done it correctly. And this is not the brand story section that we have at the very top, but you can place above A plus. This is way more like meet me, know me, love what we do. This is why we're passionate about it. We're really good people, right? That's what you want to go with. Okay, so give me a second here. That's my handsome husband. See, okay. Aha. Okay, so sorry, that was really silly. Mushroom. Let's see here. Cordyceps. Okay, let's go down here. Right. So this is a really good example of like positioning. See, there's my feature bullets. Those things are going to stop returns. Okay, so this company. It's Oregon farm grown with passion, right? We're positioning them against those big careless enterprises. You can always do that with Amazon clients, and Amazon clients can do with their products because most of us are not. Let's just be completely honest. Like if you're launching your 10th product, you're not J.C. Penney, and you're not like this huge conglomeration. Okay, you're not a careless corporation. You're still talking to your customers. Usually, you still know what they want, right? So you can always start anybody's with this. Like this isn't your careless corporate, XYZ enterprise. We stayed true to we use the word roots because it's a farm. Um, we talk about, like we add a trust anchor, quickly becoming known as one of the fastest growing, customer driven, and then whatever kind of company it is. This is a supplement company. You can say fastest growing fitness company, fastest growing, women's Christian like inspirational products, company, Bible company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, without sacrificing ethics or quality. Okay. Peek inside our doors and you'll see, and then you want to save like, how can they trust you? Right. What else can you anchor in there? Like this can be where you talk about the mission you give to, for these guys, it's like you can literally watch them. You can't go to a big corporation, a big factory and watch what they do anytime you want. With these guys, you can literally watch them, right? So it's about like what makes us special as a company in this section, right? What makes special as a company that's also going to anchor trust. Okay. And there's a ton of brand story examples all over the internet that you can go and look at. Most of the time, if you have clients that come with a brand story, and most clients can like, if you get on the phone with them for 5 minutes and say, hey, all you have to say is like, how did you get started? What inspired you? Let's see here. What inspired you? Inspired you to start this company, brand, product? What problem were you trying to solve? For whom? And if you get this, there's no E in whom, Diane. If you get this also goes into your nested loop. Okay, super exciting stuff. So what inspired you to start this company, brand, product? What problem are you trying to solve? For whom were you trying to solve it? Right? What gap does it, fill in the market, et cetera, et cetera. And if you guys need examples of good brand stories, I can shoot some over to you. That's no problem. I don't have like a compilation of brand stories, but I write them every day. So I'm sure I could, pull one together if you guys really need it. But most of you guys, this is what people want to talk about. This is what the clients want to talk about. This is what makes them feel really proud, right? Like I really wanted to uplift my sister. So, and I wasn't sure and I was looking for these gift baskets and nothing seemed to feel right. And, I really wanted to uplift the women in my Bible study group, but nothing felt right. Everything was like, it seemed like it was photocopied or overmarketed or I'm talking about Pepper here. Right. So I decided I wanted to do this and I really wanted to inspire, and these women really love this. So we thought like, why not inspire women all over the world to walk more closely with God, right? Something like that. Why not uplift them when they're walking through the valley of the shadows of death? That's like a psalm reference. Sorry. Like, so, like you get really passionate about it. Think about someone who is like really passionate about what they're doing, right? If you have to, go watch like a really like a presidential speech or a leader speech where they're really passionate, the crowd's going wild. They are literally passionate, get into that mindset and then talk about it on the positive side, not the negative side. Not a presidential debate, like a rally, or like a leadership rally, right? Or like a high school rally. And people are like, we're going to win, woo. get into that mindset, like you're going to beat your chest. It's called the gamma, right? And talk about passion and talk about why you do what you do. And that's where that's your brand story. And then you want to use just like an image of you, which is great. An image of your customers is great. Your company, your family, like something that's going to pull heartstrings. If you have a mission, use an image of your mission, especially if it involves cute small animals or babies or children, right? Okay, let's figure out another way to check messages without even jumping screens. I feel like I should have been this genius a long time ago. Okay, that's not from you guys. What in the world was that? No idea. Okay, so if you don't have, let's say you don't have a, give me a second here. Why aren't you letting me open this? If, let's say you don't have a brand story, which makes no sense to me. Okay, it doesn't. This is, keep going back to the same graphics portfolio. We've got another one being created right now. You could do like all the features. Oh my gosh, what is he doing? All the features, all the benefits image kind of thing, right? A lot of what we'll use, like when we don't have this here, okay, the description section, when we cut that out, it goes straight to brand story, and we don't have these feature bullets because we haven't done an openness of loops, and we're not trying to talk them out of buying a product only to refund it. Okay, so this would end up being section 2. Most of the time this is, let's see here, usually section 2 if there is no customer facing description with open nested loop and the refund blocking feature bullets. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that would be section 2. Then we would go down here, and so for like a lot of times I put in here section 4, but like really, if you're not using that, this is going to be section 3, and you're going to want to do a everything that's included image, right? And we've talked about those so many times. Like I'll go, let me find a good example for you. But there's like, like if you go, we looked at the toys. Okay, let's just go to Amazon. Really easy. Amazon.com. Let's go to building sets, building blocks sets for kids, right? What's a good example of everything included? Something like this would be a good example of everything included. Happy kid, lots of happy kids playing with it, okay? With the quantities underneath it, like here's all the things you can build, and then you can say, like we talked about the 168 piece competition. Everybody's like, I have this many pieces. I have this many pieces. How do you overcome for quality? That was a few weeks ago. Quality over quantity. We talked about that. So if you go and you look at any of these listings, they're going to have I'm trying to find one that is not, of course, wooden building blocks. That is not, I'm trying to find one that was not a sponsored listing because I don't want to charge somebody, I don't want to use somebody's PPC dollars. Okay, so we scroll down here. If they have 100 piece block set, these guys don't have one. We should have a conversation with them. I will be contacting them after this video. Just kidding. If we go to like this one, okay, they have like all the pieces in one image. They should. Okay, they have all the things you can build. Okay, and again, we're talking about A+ EBC. I'm just looking for an example. Let's see here. Let's go down, see if they have this down here. So they have what? Okay, 11 and 1. I have a lot of brands I can contact right now and be like, hey, by the way, you're missing this. These are all, see how it's a 5 frame? None of these guys have updated their A+ in a long time. So it'd be like if you took every single one of these, okay, and you broke down the pieces and you were like, there are 52 of these, silver roddy things, and there are like, 18 of these wheel things, and these are, you can give them hypnotic names, like of the, moon wheels, and you could be like the power wheels, there's like 6 power wheels, and they're versatile, and like you'd want to list out every single thing, right, that's included in a package. Okay, like for the Bible tabs, let me see, I wonder if I can find a good image for that. Let me see here, because I know they have it. It's definitely not going to be under toys and games. We're going to go to Shepherd of Life, Bible tabs. Okay. Let's see here. I really don't want to click on their sponsored ad. There we go. Okay. So if we go and we look at like, Okay, so if they included like everything, I think we're actually they're redoing their A plus because they just had me redo their A plus to a 7 stack instead of 5 stack. Don't know why I thought of them as an example, but they have really pretty pictures. So like if we go down here, they don't have their A plus up right now because of it. Shoot. So it'd be like if you had all the Bible tabs listed out, right? And like everything they get, okay, in one image. And I'm trying to think of a good example, but we're like I said, we're just redoing their A plus right now. So let me just do this very basically, right? So like for the part 3, you know what I mean? You're not going to have like a part 3 down here. You can call it part 3A if you want, or part 3, you know, because this becomes 2, step part 3. You know, you just have all the things included, nicely laid out, right? With their quantity of each. Okay. And this is where you can show things like this comes with a storage bag. This comes with a bonus piece of chocolate. This comes with, you know, a little wrench, like if it's something you have to put together. And the wrench is durable, and we can talk about it in the top right-hand corner of that image, right? Okay, so module 4, this is the 4-part interactive slideshow. And I was trying to show you guys this last week, but there's like a, here are the instructions for it. I put this in, you know, here so you guys can grab these if you need to. This is how you set up your carousel, and this kind of gives us an idea, right? So a carousel is like you get to have, you know, 4 titles, and the one you're hovering over will pop, like jump forward, and it has like a headline and then some other things, like other, you know, benefits, features, whatever on there. Okay. Super duper simple. I can say view more, right? There's 3 tiles, 4 tiles, 5 tile. I start with the 4 tile carousel. I find that if it's 5 tiles, like you can keep, it just shoots across the page, and then they're going to see something else on the side if they're on their cell phone, because it'll mess up if it's more than 4 tiles on their cell phone. Okay. And then they go and they get distracted by something else. They've seen a competitor's scroll stopping image is their, you know, main image, and the price is different. Oh, I wonder what's over there. Kitty, you know, like that's a squirrel, whatever it is. Like that's what people do. That's what the human brain does. So we want to keep them glued into ours, right? So every single time they hover over an image, it's going to give them this title text. You're going to be able to write in title text, which is essentially a headline, and then some secondary text. And then behind these 4 images, you can put a beautiful, like a big, beautiful brand image. Okay. Let me see if I can find this. And yeah. So so with that, right? This was the cordyceps one. I don't know why I have that in there. I just totally goofed this up on their listing. Right. So we talked about like this is their interactive slideshow. Okay. And this talks about the most important things that they do that set their product apart. They focus on, you know, what's best for you and not growth, right? We had not profit before. You know, phytonutrients, not funky gas. So we had an image. So what they do is they pick at a different time, they ferment it, other people don't. They freeze dry it, other people don't, and they, you know, mycelate it. Okay, mycelation for maximum absorption. So it talks about like here are the 4 things we do differently, and here are the 4 benefits, right? So these are the 4 benefits, and then this is a little bit deeper writing about the benefits, right? So this is another hook. Grab their attention, right? Or make them laugh. Okay. Same kind of thing. And these are just images that pop up behind there. And so you're going to use an image that pertains to each of your headlines and your description. It's just like the, you know, the 4 images across. Okay. It's just like the 4 images across. Give me a second here. Right. With the 4 image highlights. Right. And for this, like, if you're doing the slideshow, you can also do like future pacing, right? So like what benefit do they want in the future? You know, if you said something like, and here's an example, we just did this. If you said something like lightning recall, right? It's for like a memory supplement. And then you said, let's see here, never forget, right? And they're like, never forget what, right? So that's opening a nested loop. They want to read about it, okay? Oh, and this actually goes where a headline is. Sorry. And with these 4-part interactive slideshows, I always use images with the one that's right below it, right? Which is like, and that's where I put the show everything included one graphic in this one. These, they get mixed around. So you can interchange 3, 4, and 5, okay? If you want to, depending on how it lays out and how it works and what you want to do. I generally stick to 3 as all things included, 4 as the interactive slideshow, and then for 5, I'll have something else like this, but with the icons, okay? So there's alternates to that. Let's see here. Future pacing. So find those keys, right? Because people are like, I lost my keys. Maybe, let's see here, what else? Like, remember names. Hey, George. Right? Because I like remember people's names. And what else would be future pacing for like a memory supplement? Do it all, like attend it all, never miss a meeting. Never miss a meeting. Never forget again. No more tears. And you do something like never forget your grandchild's birthday. Grandchild's birthday again. Okay, so you can do future pacing here as well. Find those keys. No annoying beeper that you'll lose anyway. Required, right? Something funny like that. And you want to make sure these are about the same length. So I usually play with them back and forth. You don't have to actually in this. Yeah, in this particular section, the interactive slideshow, you don't have to make sure they're the same length. If you're doing 4 image highlights instead, which is a different module, you want to make sure they're about the same length, right? So you'd play with that. And again, we go through, tweak this, power it up. This is just off the top of my head, lightning recall. So if they're trying to get lightning recall, it'd be like George, no, Frank, no. Oh wait, let me see here. The thing that we anchored this in with was like, you won't even realize what you've missed until you start, right? So they're taking the supplement, they don't even realize like how much they've missed, realize how much you've missed, right? So we did that. It's kind of like opening a nested loop, like, oh man, I'm missing things. I don't even realize I'm missing things. I'm missing things. It's not just that I can't find my keys, I'm missing things. Let's see here. Rapidly recall everyone's a name like never before. So something like no more embarrassing forgetfulness. Remember, no more mixing up your names, right? Like something like that. And again, this is just off the top of my head. Like you can go through and do a lot better jobs based on what they want in terms of like their future paced outcome. Okay. And obviously make it emotional. So you have to go through and be like, okay, does this trigger anything emotional? Does this trigger anything emotional? Does this trigger anything emotional? Right? Something like that. And then again, like you can basically duplicate this for stack part 5 if you want. Okay. And again, these are just a couple different ways you can do it that are going to all pretty much convert the same. So this is where we'd said, okay, show everything in one infographic, which you totally can. This is really useful to do this here if you don't have, like if you've had to sell the quality before and the superiority before you can win out on the number of pieces. Let's say you only have 102, but they're superior quality. They're not going to break for 100 years. And someone else is selling 175 that's going to make your grandkids cry in, I don't know why I'm talking about grandkids so much. I don't have grandkids. It's going to make your kids cry in, like 6 months when it breaks, their new favorite toy breaks, right? Things like that. So you could do this, or you can do stack part 5 alternative, right? And you can do like this, but what you're going to do this time is you're just going to use the 4 image highlights, okay? And you're going to use icons. Okay, so this would be like your 4 main benefits. 4 main benefits, right? And these are like simple benefits, okay? So this is where the images go. Like if you're going to give them image guidance, but this is where icon guidance goes. Okay, so let's see here. A second here, I want to go back down and make sure that. Okay, so yeah, we did this again, right? So it was like performance, stamina, focus, drive. And then it said why the product is superior for delivering those, right? So for my benefits, and the description is what's different about the product that makes it superior in delivering those outcomes. Right, benefits, right? So these can be your main benefits, your outcomes. Okay, and so like we said, it's just like when we were talking about, okay, what do you put up on your, like if you're focusing on the outcome up here, right? What outcome did you put up here, right? You can say, okay, I had 4 things in a row, none of the sting. Okay, that's one outcome. None of the heat. Okay, that's one outcome. What are 2 more outcomes that I had up here? Okay, if we're going back here, it's like if we go to the top here. Okay, you'll see that what I did was I said, okay, here, these 4 outcomes follow throughout. Okay, motivated, driven, focused, energized, right? You could just use those 4. Go down here, and what did we say? Performance, stamina, focus, drive. We just said them in different ways, right? And so this right here just explains why the product is, superior at delivering those outcomes that they want. Okay, you can use the same for outcomes. You can use, 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom, whatever you think you need to hook them with at the very end. You guys understand. You know what you're doing. But that's what goes there in that particular stack, right? And again, here is, this is where this was either part 3. You can use as stack part 3 as well. Okay. Let's see here. And then stack part 6, this is the end of your A plus that you control. And you can control number 7 as well, but like number 7 is always going to be a carousel of your other products or your clients' other products. Okay. So for this one, like this is 4 icons across, 4 headlines below, and this was actually what I just did right here. Give me a second here. Okay, it's right here. I just put it in the wrong spot. Drink more of that coffee. Okay, so let's see here. So your superiority thing, hypnotic anchor, like the reasons you would choose there, like they're going to choose that product, right? And I have stack 5 alternative. I don't need that there. I don't need that there. Okay. Oh, gosh darn it. The alternative is for image highlights. I just did it again. So the complexity becomes when you're trying to write, like you have to know these are the components you use. These are the sequences, like these are the stack pieces that you use. You can interchange them. Okay. So parts 3, 4, and 5 can be interchanged. Okay. Very, very easily. Stack 6, like stack section 6 always needs to be a scroll stopping image. Okay, so we talked about scroll stopping images already. You want them to stop at the bottom when they first start seeing it, when they're scrolling up from the ratings/reviews, right? And you want that to have your hypnotic anchor on it, your number one superior thing in big, bold letters, right? Why should you buy mine instead of anybody else's? Okay. And then number 7 is just your product carousel. And if you don't have your product carousel, there's instructions over here. Like you just bump 6 down, right? So your scroll stopping image is last in your A plus, and then you can do 4 more icons to add 4 more benefits, 4 more outcomes that they can get, right? 4 headlines beneath each of those, just like we talked about before, right? You can do another interactive carousel if you want, probably. Like there's so many things you can do, right? So we said, like this would be a great place if you have to have an alternative to like look at no more of the thing they don't want, no more of the thing they don't want, no more of the thing they don't want, right? We wrote last week about a blow dryer, right? So no more loss of beauty sleep, right? Like you say 4 hours a week using this blow dryer because it's so fast, right? Instead of just being like fast, you say, okay, why is it blow drying your hair faster important? Well, because then you don't have to get up as early. Well, if you don't have to get up as early, what do you get to do? You get to sleep. Oh, no more loss of sleep, no more loss of beauty sleep, so I can get up and make my hair perfect. Awesome. No more loss of beauty sleep. Same thing down here, right? No more frizz, no more tangles. Like these are things these are the outcomes they're trying to avoid. So if you don't have room in, like your stack 7 alternative, you can spend more of that time targeting your customer awareness level 5, the people who are more jaded. Otherwise, it's really critical that you have your other products featured below, especially if they're related products, right? Let's see here. So we talked about backend keyword description, A plus, EBC. We've talked about how we came up with these words, right? We used helium 10. We talked about search terms before. So you break down any of your keywords that are left in English and Spanish, like long tail keywords, you break them down into individual keywords, and that's what goes into your 250 character search terms. You update that every month when you get, like you update your keywords on your listing every month or on your website. right? You update your keywords. That means you update your keywords that go into your description, which means you update your keywords that go into your search terms and your, if you have that section still, and your subject matter, if you still have that section. Just as a reminder, since I mentioned it briefly earlier, for each one of these banners, these images, these graphics, infographics, whatever you want to call them, for each one you're creating, in the back end of Seller Central, there is a meta tag, right? Where it's like you're going to post in keywords as much as possible pertaining to that product that will, it has to be like pink Bible, right? So like pink Bible for women's, teens, girls. Maybe that's a keyword. Okay. You could post that below the image, and that's really for people who are visually impaired, right? But that does rank you for that on, maybe not super high, but it ranks you. It does give you rank boost on Google and other search engines. So that is A+ EBC, the 7-step sequence in a nutshell. It's a lot to digest. Usually I recommend that people like go and play with it and think about it and jot down all the questions they can about it and then circle back for the next Q&A. If you guys have any questions right now, I'm happy to answer them, but I know more are going to come up from this because this is kind of like building a sales page within an Amazon listing sales page, right? And I try to make it as cut and dry as possible, like step 1, step 2, step 3. Like we're trying to do that, but there's always like what ifs that come up. Like, what if my client doesn't have a brand story? Well, you can help them create one. What if they don't want to use a brand story? Great. So here's off to the side. If you look at notes, here's what you can do instead of a brand story, right? What mission do they support? Here's what you can do instead of a mission. What, or bump this out of there, like things like that. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to hang out here for a second. I am going to stop this video.